Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Just Listen to Yourself podcast with Davis. I, of course, am your host, Davis, and this is the podcast where I ask you to take the most popular talking points on the hot topics of the day and draw them out to their logical conclusion. Because I think that when we take the time to examine what we're saying, we're not always saying what we think we are. So this is an exercise in thought and persuasion, and the audience has been growing week to week. It's been amazing to see. We've really had a flourish in the last few weeks, and I am so grateful for all of you for taking this journey. We're really excited with the direction this podcast is going. We're about to start taking on some sponsors here pretty soon. If you'd like to have your business featured on the show, I actually can do a live read for you. You just email me, kiradavis422@gmail.com. There is a small fee, kiradavis422@gmail.com. That is something we can do, but we've also got some really big and exciting sponsors lined up in the near future. So we're growing, and that's all thanks to you. And thanks to everyone who patronizes the FCB Radio Network, which is the home of the Just Listen to Yourself podcast. Last week's podcast was heavy. It was a heavy hitter. One of the heavier ones, right? We talked about Ahmaud Arbery, talked about that shooting. And it was one of the more emotional podcasts that I've had to do, probably since the N-word podcast. The N-word podcast really took a lot out of me. And if you haven't heard that one, I highly encourage you to go back, dig that up and listen to that, because it was a lot. But listen to it by yourself or listen to it with somebody that you feel safe with, because it's not suitable. It's not suitable for work. That's because we had a huge discussion. My producer and I, we went back and forth for a long time about how far we would take that episode. The whole episode is about the N-word and the watering down of it. And so that was about censoring the word. So I didn't want to censor it because that was the topic of the discussion. So we went back and forth, but we agreed it shouldn't be censored for that episode. Now it's not salacious, and I try not to overuse it, but there are points where you will cringe. There were points where I was cringing doing it. It was a really highly emotional episode. So go back and listen to that. But last week's episode was the same. This man, Ahmaud Arbery, who was shot, got me right in the heart, because I'm a mom and my son is 18 years old. He's not much younger than Mr. Arbery was. And I know what it's like to be a mom and trying to deal with you've raised this person their whole lives, and then at some point you've got to let them go out and be their own men. And you don't know if they're going to make good choices or bad choices, and you don't know how other people are going to look at those choices, and if that'll be dangerous for your son. And I watched Arbery jogging past these guys and being ambushed, and I thought, oh, that could have been my son. Like, what am I releasing him into the world to see and to experience? And if it were him, would he have turned around or would he have run? I hope he would have run. And just there's all kinds of, as a mother, you just spend every day worrying about every worst possible situation that could ever happen. It's exhausting. Am I right, moms? Dads don't seem to have the same things. Dads can be like, well, it is what it is. You got to go out there and earn his way in the world. But moms, our hearts are so knit to our children, probably because our bodies were knit together at one point. We never lay off that worry. So seeing Arbery go down like that and lose his life that way, I found to be, it took an emotional toll. And also the ensuing battle around it, and how people have been digging into his past, not the killer's past, but his past, to say, oh, well, see, he was a bad egg anyway. He had this look how defiant he is. He has this running with the law here and there. And to me, it makes me know, never mind, and I'm not trying to rehash last week's podcast. I'm just saying there's nothing that I've seen that tells me he deserved to be shot and killed on the day of that event. And if I may respond to that talking point that I've seen since last week's episode before we move forward here, I have to say I do find it disturbing that people are so willing to dig into his past as if it's relevant. His past is relevant if it's something like oh, he was attempting to kidnap one of these guys' kids. And 2 years ago, he had an issue with trying to kidnap somebody. And 2 years before that, like that's precedent, right? A belligerent kid who's getting into trouble is not precedent. That's a kid that's growing pains. That's growing pains. And it's not, he doesn't have a precedent of shooting people. There's nothing to say that he had any intention of shooting that guy when he grabbed the gun. If anything, it's only self-defense, but people are bringing up these past incidences as if they are relevant. And there are 2 points I just want to make really quickly, if you'll bear with me on that issue. One is, absolutely not. Just technically and legally speaking, his past is irrelevant here because this wasn't a situation of him confronting those men. Those men confronted him. As I said in the episode, if they are not posted at their marks along that route, if they are not carrying guns, if they are not waiting in ambush for this young man to run by, this young man's alive to this day. So they initiated everything. They initiated every single thing, every single confrontation with this kid, whether they knew each other prior to that, whether this kid was a good, innocent kid out for a jog or a troublemaker who people were annoyed by. Whatever the case is, technically and legally speaking, is what I'm saying, that I don't believe that there's anything that we saw that would justify A, the murder, and B, the fact that those guys should have been there in the first place. They initiated everything. So this is their fault in every respect. That's one thing. Here's the other thing. And I want y'all to hear, because this is the more important part to me. And this is kind of what I was trying to explain last week, but I didn't have all of the context to be able to explain this. In a lot of ways, we look at people who are different than us as less than us. We don't know we're doing it. We don't always look at it that way. Of course, we look at mothers in the slums of India, of Calcutta, let's use that as an example, and we think, well, gosh, they have it so bad, and it must be terrible to live in a place where you're living day to day, you're sustaining your lives just day to day, you lose children very quickly and easily to disease or to crime or whatever is the issue there. That's a surface level response to that mother, right? And that's normal because we can't walk in her shoes. We couldn't in this country, even if we wanted to, because there's no such thing as that kind of poverty in this country. But the other thing we do is that we detach ourselves from the reality of who she is as a person. So there's kind of an idea that we say that we feel sorry for her, but we just kind of think like, well, that they're used to that kind of life. And so her pain isn't as great as my pain would be if I suddenly was thrust into that situation. For her, that's just life. And so it doesn't hurt her as much to lose her kid as it would hurt me to lose my kid. Because I'm not even making any racial points here at all. I'm just saying that is the downside of distance. It makes it so it's harder to empathize with people. And I know this. Let me be honest with you. I know this from my own experience. So it's easier to live in a cushier area like the suburbs, or to have a comfortable home life and live in a comfortable area. And you look at the people in the hood, you look at the people in the quote ghetto, and you say they live like animals. The crime is out of control. There's unwed mothers everywhere. There's high, drug use, low education rates. You see these guys walking around with their pants low. Whatever they do on the streets all day, and a lot of them are causing trouble, and it's easy to say that they don't feel things the way we feel them. It's easy to think that the mothers that lose their kids to gang violence are used to it. And so it doesn't affect them the same way that it would affect us. It's easy to look at Ahmaud Arbery with those pants hanging low and his defiant attitude, and he's cussing at a police officer, and say, this kid was just no good. This kid was just no good. And so whatever he walked into, that was really his own doing because this is the life he was living. it's really, really important to step back and remember that this is a human being. This is a person. And he had a family who loved him. And his family loved him just as much as you love the most important person in your life. If that's your spouse, if that's your son or daughter, his family loved him like that too. This isn't a case of some, quote, black thug getting what he deserved. This is a case of a human being. And like all human beings, that's the other thing. Is this how we're going to decide who deserves justice, by what they do in their past? Oh, good luck. I hope nothing ever happens to you. Because I guarantee you, I mean, give me 5 minutes and I'll dig into your past and find something that would disgust people or disappoint people, right? Same here. I'm not above that. Please don't dig into my past. I promise. You don't want to see any of that stuff. But that's the point, right? None of us pass muster, and yet a lot of us have this idea that we do in comparison to others. So it's easy for us to look at that kid and say, well, maybe he came from a bad area. He was a bad egg. He'd been in some bad trouble before. He said some bad things. He was saucy, sassy, defiant, and possibly a thug. And by the way, that's a possibly. I'm just making a point here. I don't know that he was. But I feel like that's what a lot of people think when they look at that footage of him. They look at him as an other instead of one of us. He's one of us. He's your son. He's your son who messed up once and cussed at a cop and got sassy. He's your son who maybe broke a girl's heart. He's your son who, I don't know, stole something from the pharmacy and got caught and had to pay the price for it. Like, he's your son. He's your son. He belongs to all of us, but we otherize a lot of these situations so that the people aren't like us. And then it's easier for us to feel like they don't react to life the way we do. It is important to remember that this young man was a real person and a real human being with real feelings, and his parents and his family loved him just as much as you love your family too. So let's not forget that when we're adjudicating the Ahmaud Arbery case. And for any other case, I have a line, I believe, where I can draw, where there's a line of humanity. To me, it's clear. You draw this line, and some people do cross over this line, and they're not humans. So there is such a thing as evil, right? There is such a thing as losing your humanity. We know that this is certainly not a case to qualify. Let us not forget that this is a man, a person, not a gang member, not a thug, not even a bad apple, just a kid who is like the kids around you and who makes the same good and bad decisions just like the kids around you. All right, so I'll stop beating you over the head with that point. Let's get to some reader feedback, though, because we had some good stuff. Here's one from Tara. Tara says, "Hi, Kira. I followed you on Twitter for a pretty long time and enjoy your wit and writing. This is the first time I've listened to your podcast, and I was genuinely interested in your perspective on this. I like how you even understood why some white people dig in on these subjects. I have family who are police officers and generally give officers the benefit of the doubt, even though I know too many black people get shot when it just shouldn't happen. It doesn't matter if this man was, quote, a bad apple, was scoping out this place to burglarize, jogging, or running. The fact is, those other men had no authority over him. They just didn't, and he had every right to defend himself. The whole thing is wrong, period. Thank you for this podcast. Fan for life, Tara." Tara, thank you so much for taking the time to write me that wonderful email. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad, that a Twitter fan converted to the podcast. Welcome. And I hope you're enjoying some back episodes of the podcast now. We have a lot of fun on this show. And I'm so glad that it provoked some thought. You know, I loved what you had to say, that you have family that are officers too. And this isn't even about police officers, right? Which I think is the other thing that's getting muddied up here. People are treating those two guys like they're police officers. And they weren't. Tara recognizes that, but she also recognizes the fact that there is tension between police and the Black community. And she says, as somebody who has family members that are police officers, I do give them the benefit of the doubt. That being said, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing it the way you are. So thank you so much. At least thank you for thinking about it and pondering it. I appreciate it, Tara. It's great to have you in the club. Here is another listener response. This one's from Linda. Linda says, I listened to your podcast and I couldn't agree with you more. I am a 66-year-old white female conservative, but more importantly, I am the mom of 2 sons and grandma, Dee Dee, as she says, to 2 grandsons. Congratulations, Dee Dee. My sons are grown, but good Lord, there are times in their past that I thought they would end up dead or in jail. You are correct. Any mom that thinks her kids are angels has another thing coming. Girl, it's so true. The moment I saw the video about this case, which by the way was the first time I even knew it happened back in February, I felt this was murder. I have had discussions and arguments with people regarding my feelings that Ahmed did nothing wrong. It disturbs me that people on Facebook called me a quote liberal and go watch CNN because I'm stupid, etc. This is such an easy call looking at that video. I was shocked that liberalism versus conservatism would even be a part of the narrative. So I told them that I am a conservative, and guess what? I watch all news channels just to verify my point of view is just that, mine. Perhaps they should try that. Wrong is wrong no matter what race or religion, no matter what your past is, and no matter what your political persuasion is. If you can't look at things with an open mind, you need to check yourself. Anyway, thank you for a dead-on correct podcast. We have cocktails and driveways around here. LOL. She says, I follow you on Facebook as I am not on Twitter because I don't know if I can handle any more BS from people. Thanks for bringing issues like this out into the light. Thank you so much, Linda. You're welcome. And thank you for just having an open mind and being reasonable about this. I have to say that while the naysayers and the haters are out there, I am discovering there's more Lindas out there than not. I'll say that. There's more Lindas out there on this issue than not. And I think anyone that's framing this as kind of conservatives destroying this kid's reputation, no, that's a few people. My experience is turning out to be that most conservatives are taking a decent view on this issue. Not all, though, and you can go look at some of the back and forth on Twitter. It certainly has been getting a little crazy, as Linda pointed out. But we've been, it's been great to see people step up and be forward about their views. Okay, next one. This is my favorite one. This one's from Bethany. Bethany must have been bored at work because Bethany's been binge listening to my show, which I love. Thank you, Bethany. It makes me feel so special that I'm somebody, like I'm binged. Someone's binging me. I love it. But I loved it because she's got actually a whole list of, she wanted to respond to everyone. You know what, Bethany? I get that you're a little bit late to this party, so I'm going to read every response here. That's usually what I do. I get an email, I read the response. You are going to get every response read on here. She's got a lot to say here. Let me know if you agree with Bethany on some of these things. Here she says, Kira, this isn't all the things really, but I am catching up on JLTY podcast while I count people entering and exiting my store. I work at a major chain store. Not a super fun time to be there, but I am so thankful that I don't have to worry about my paycheck, and I just wanted to share a few thoughts. 1, on the marriage listener response podcast. I did say I was behind, right? You did, Bethany. You mentioned that while you weren't a virgin when you were married, you still thought the biblical standard has value. I really appreciate your honesty. I grew up on the tail end of the heavy-handed purity culture evangelical churches pushed for a while. I think there is a lot of shame for people in that age group who didn't wait. They feel like they can't tell their kids that biblical standards for sex are what they should follow. Maybe they're afraid it will look as do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. I get that, but just because we aren't perfect doesn't mean that the standard isn't. I just love that you are upfront about your personal experience while also sticking to your biblical beliefs. I feel like that shouldn't be such a hard thing, but we are all human. Thank you, Bethany. I have to admit that I don't know the whole issue with the purity culture stuff, although I heard a really great podcast on one of my favorite podcasts called Unbelievable. And it was a discussion about purity culture and about Josh, what's his face, who wrote the I Kiss Dating Goodbye book. And a lot of people loved it. I remember my husband and I were teaching youth group at that time, and I remember us using that book for a study. I don't remember much else about it, to be honest. And we weren't in it very long. It was just interesting to us, an interesting point of view. But I didn't realize that that this purity culture thing was happening. I mean to say, in the evangelical church. I think I just was absorbed in my own life at that time. During this time period, I was off in college and kind of living my own life and getting along. So I don't really have an understanding of that guilt that has been visited upon evangelical Christians because of this purity culture thing. I have to say, I don't fully understand it. But if it's hurt people, I'm really glad that people are starting to feel a little more freedom to say so. Certainly, I loved what you had to say, that just because you're not perfect doesn't mean the standards aren't perfect. And that's exactly the point that I was trying to make. You know, it's about the value. There's always value in it. It's about the value. You know that it's worth something, even if you're kind of disrespecting the value from time to time. And even that is enough to set you apart from, you know, the secular world. So I certainly don't, I would like my children to wait until marriage. It's interesting that you say this, Bethany, because I literally just read yesterday, Justin Bieber. Don't laugh. Okay. You guys know I love celebrity gossip. I love celebrity culture. I keep up with the gossip. I read the blind items. If you love celebrity gossip and you don't read AGC Web blind items, go look it up and enjoy. You can thank me later. AGC blind items. It is direct celebrity gossip directly from celebrities. They phone their tips in anonymously, so you get a lot of good juice. Oh, it's so terrible. Guilty pleasure. I will not be accepting your judgment. Thank you very much. Anyways, I was reading Justin Bieber, so I'm sure we're all familiar with the problems he's had, and let's just give him a break, because he got plucked into this industry at 10 years old and went on tour without his mom. His mom, I don't think, was hardly around. And there are so many predators in the industry. I have beyond a shadow of a doubt, that child has been probably abused or hurt in some way, because the jackals just descend on that industry. So he's had a rough life, even though he's got lots of money. And he's a Christian, and he's always been a Christian. His mom's a Christian. And so he's always been open about his faith and the struggles he's had in the industry. And he married Haley Baldwin, who's Stephen Baldwin's daughter, of course, one of the famous Baldwins. And Stephen Baldwin is a born again Christian. He's a Trump pastor now. He loves Trump. I actually saw him at CPAC. That's the conservative conference back in February, back when we were all free. I was in Washington, D.C. for that, and he was there. And I stopped. I was going to meet him in the hallway, but he was swamped by people. And I remember looking at him and thinking, like, all I could think of was, this is Justin Bieber's dad. This is his father-in-law. But they're a traditional family. Haley Baldwin is a model, and she's kind of a, quote, like sexy lingerie, all the stuff that goes with model. But she's actually a Christian, and a committed Christian, which I think is why Bieber was so attracted to her family. They're a nuclear family, and she's always talked about how growing up in the industry was difficult for her. Dating was always difficult because she didn't have the same values as everybody else. So anyway, Bieber was saying yesterday, I really wish I had waited until I was married to have sex. I really wish. And I get that. That's exactly how I felt after I got married. I wouldn't have said that before I got married. I would have said, well, we all just make our mistakes or whatever, but you learn from them. And hey, I got some pleasure and somebody got some pleasure, and what's so wrong with that? But after I got married, I realized, like, just how what a deep connection that is, and how marriage is not just a piece of paper, that it's actually a kind of covenant that has some spiritual ramifications that you don't see coming at all. And life could be easier if you guys waited for each other and gave each other that gift solely. Your lives together could be easier. I know a lot of people don't see it that way. They see like, well, how do you know if you're going to be good together? But marriage is forever. So you've got forever to figure it out. You know, you can practice. It's not that serious. But yeah, I think that it is the right thing to do, not because I think you're a slut if you don't do it, but because I know what the bonds of marriage really are. And I feel jealous of people who waited for each other. I do, even to this day, 21 years in. I really do. So thanks for bringing that up, Bethany. Listener response, here she goes. Number 2, response to the N-word podcast. You told the lady writing that she should be able to ban words in her home. I have a story about outlawing words at my home. My parents were foster parents for most of my life. When I was in the 5th grade, we had 3 sisters living with us, and they were used to boxed mac and cheese and blood noodles, which is spaghetti with tomato sauce, which Bethany, that really disturbed me to read that. Never heard of it. Wish I never had. I will never look at spaghetti noodles again in the same way. Thank you. Anything my mother cooked was new to them and deemed nasty, so they refused to try it. Since that was pretty much everything, it happened a lot. One night, my dad got fed up and banned nasty from everyone's vocabulary. I was in college before I felt free to use it again. And to this day, something has to be truly nasty for me to use it. That's funny. What about you guys? Do you have any other words that you just could never use in the house? I don't know if I have any. I was never allowed to. This is probably very common, but I never was allowed to say what. You know, if you call somebody, what? Oh, no, that was... Even to this day, I will not answer what to somebody. Yes. Number 3, she says, I skipped ahead. Oh, Bethany, you skipped ahead. How dare you? Well, the internet is amazing and you can go back. I skipped ahead and listened to your latest episode on Ahmaud Arbery. I'm not trying to make light of the situation at all, but you know how some things just pop into your head? The thing that goes through my mind's eye, I love this. The thing that goes through my mind's eye every time I hear that stupid citizen's arrest defense, just so dumb, just unbelievable, is the scene from the Andy Griffith Show when Barney isn't a deputy. And so he's trying to perform a citizen's arrest and he's just shouting in the only way that Don Knotts could. Citizen's arrest, citizen's arrest. It's hilarious and a completely inappropriate thing to think about when I read about this tragedy, but it won't go away. But I hear you. But that's what it is. Like, if the results weren't so tragic, yeah, it would be hysterical that these guys Karen'd their way into a murder. So I get that. And isn't it funny what memories hang on? Do you have like a memory that pops up that has it's irrelevant, has nothing to do with anything, and you don't know why you think about it all the time? I don't either. I had, when I was 5 years old, my grandfather built a bookcase, and it was a bunch of smaller boxes, cube boxes, kind of arranged to make one big giant triangle. It was weird. I don't know. My mom loved it. And I had it in my room. And when I was 5 years old, I had a nightmare that it came to life and started chasing me down the stairs. And I've never been able to not think about that nightmare. I think about it every day. Why? It was years ago. That bookshelf sat in our house for years. I never had any issues with it. It never did come to life, people. It was actually just a bookshelf the whole time. And what's funny is I was talking to my mother quite recently, a few weeks ago, and she said, oh, you know, when she's in Canada, so our borders are closed, so we have no way to see each other. Not that we would be making arrangements right now. Anyway, but she was like, well, next time you come out here, I'm going to send you back with some things. Like maybe you bring a truck and you drive back. Do you want your grandfather's bookcase? And I was like, no, I do not want that thing. When I was 5, I had a nightmare about it, and I've never stopped thinking about that bookcase. And she was cracking up. She was dying. It is funny what just triggers in your memory. I don't know. What are you thinking about right now that one thing, the thing that just always pops up, it's random. It doesn't have a lot of emotion attached to it at all, but it's just a thought that never goes away. We all have that. Show-wise, for me, it was Dick Van Dyke Show. I remember there's this one episode where he was kind of caught in a nightmare. It's another nightmare. Maybe I'm discovering things about myself, y'all, on the relaxed episode. Check me out. But his wife, remember he was married to Mary Tyler Moore. Some of you might not remember that. And there was this one episode where she had eyes in the back of her head. And I just remember seeing the eyes in the back of her head, and then a bunch of chestnuts rolled out from underneath a couch or something. And it's like the most solid image I have of the Dick Van Dyke Show. And I think about it often, and it's so bizarre. Number 4, she says bailouts. Jesus was not a socialist. Thank you. It drives me crazy when people say that. My friend was working on a sociology master's. One of her Marxist professors said that the first century church was one of the best examples of socialism in history. When I told my dad, who is a pastor, he was so ticked. I thought he might have a stroke. Charity works better when it comes from the heart instead of government mandates. Absolutely. Bethany gets it. Welcome to the club, Bethany. You're in. I like ya. Number 5, I think this was also in the bailout episode, but you mentioned moving carts in the grocery store parking lot. I don't know that the cart situation at my store has gotten worse since the pandemic started, but I know we appreciate when people put their carts in the corral where they belong. I just wanted to say thank you for doing that at your store. I think I'm done rambling. I hope you and your family are doing well. Signed, Bethany. Thank you so much, Bethany, for that email. I loved how thorough it was. I actually sent it to my producer. I was like, oh, she's binging. And I loved that you wanted to have your say. That's exactly what this show is. Please always feel free to email me with your thoughts. I might not get to it on air, but I try to read everyone. And I love that people are thinking. And by the way, I don't need you to agree with me. If you have something that that ticks you off or just needles you and you want to have your say, let me be that conduit for you. I have read letters of disagreement on this show before. So please don't feel like you're not allowed to complain to me just because this is my show. I want you to complain. If you think differently than me, then tell me why I'm wrong. And you might change my mind. I don't think I've had my mind changed yet on the show. One show I think I did, and it was the only time I've had a guest on, where I had my friend Giovanni Brusto on, and we talked about gentrification. And I changed my mind about what that is because I wasn't fully informed of the situation. But I don't know that I've had my mind changed, but I don't know. There'd be a big prize for someone out there if you can convince me to change my mind about one of my talking points. I'm open. Do it. kiradavis422@gmail.com. Before we go, we've got a little debate. I can't leave the show without presenting to you one topic at least, but this is a relaxed show because it's been such an emotional couple of weeks, and I don't want to push it. And I wanted to give the listener responses some airtime. So, but I've always got to make a point. I've always got to make some kind of persuasion here. And there's one topic that we haven't discussed yet on the show, and I don't know that it would fill an entire show, but it's worthy of being discussed. It's a valuable discussion, and it is such a deep and emotional divide in this country. It has been the subject of great debate for decades and decades. And to this very day, how you feel about this subject can determine how other people think of you. Of course, I'm talking about cats versus dogs. Which are you? Are you a cat person or a dog person? I feel highly qualified to debate this issue because we're a family. Not only are we a family of pet owners, we've always had pets in our house since, honest to God, my husband went on a little honey. We were poor when we got married, so we did 3 days in Michigan, which is right next door to Gary, Indiana. We did 3 days, a bed and breakfast there. And we came home and literally we were home for like 20 minutes. I swear this is how it went down. We were both grown-ups for the first time, right? We had our own place, and we sat down and we go, let's get a dog. So we went out and got a dog that very day. And we have never not had a dog or a cat in this house since 21 years on. And we're also foster parents for the local animal rescue. So we foster both dogs and cats. And recently we had our first batch of kittens. I've never fostered kittens before. And oh my gosh, they were so cute. If I was ever going to foster fail, you know what a foster fail is, right? That's when you foster an animal and then you adopt them and then you're out of the foster roster. That's a foster fail. Lots of foster fails out there. I pride myself on not being one. My favorite part of fostering is watching the animal is because when you're fostering for a rescue, this isn't a shelter. You're getting the animals that the shelters were about to kill. That there was no more room. They've been there too long, or else they were problematic in some way. They just weren't socialized properly due to abuse. You're getting the hard cases, at least with the dogs. It's a little different with the cats, but with the dogs for sure, you're getting the hard cases. So these aren't just like really friendly, fluffy puppies all the time that come in. Some of them have big attitude problems. And I've had to send one or two back. It just wasn't the right fit for our family and we didn't feel safe. But what happens is you're socializing this animal and you're getting them to a place where they will be amenable to people and people will think they're cute and cute enough to adopt. So it's a really big feat. And when you finally see them go off with their family, it's a big deal. That's my favorite part, when you see them find their forever family. So I really enjoy being a foster. So I feel qualified to talk about this issue, dogs versus cats. Let's shake it out. What's the difference between dogs and cats? The positive of owning cats are, they're fluffy and they're soft and they're cute. They're cuddly. They're independent. They pretty much thrive on their own. You can go out of town for a couple of days and leave your cat. As long as someone's coming over to feed them, or maybe you've left them out some kind of contraption where they can get their own food. Like, the cat doesn't need to be in your presence every single day. It's got the litter box, so it can go in the litter box. You just clean that when you get home. And you don't need to fuss about it. You can have a life with a cat. Very few people, unless your cat's in medical distress, you're not going to be out at a party and hear somebody say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't go to the after party. I've got to get home to my cat. That's not usually how it works. Anybody that does say that, right, you're thinking they're weird. You're thinking they're a weirdo. So cats are very independent. I really like that about cats. What I don't like about cats is the litter box. I hate the litter box issue. It's the number one reason when, I've had the chance to get a cat. I've had a couple over the years. I don't have one now. When I've had the chance, that's been the one thing that stopped me. That litter box just, I can't deal with it. It's too much. The litter tracks, maybe I haven't just found the most luxurious setup. I'm sure there's a lot of y'all out there who have figured it out. And maybe if I was desperate enough to get another cat, I would figure it out too. But that's one of the things I never could get over was the litter box. I just don't like it. When I was growing up in rural Canada, everyone had a cat. Everybody had a cat, but they were outdoor cats. I didn't even know that there was such a thing as an exclusively indoor cat until I moved to California. Honest to God, even in Indiana, that's still like, Gary, I get, is not the country, but folks be country out there, still. Still. And I didn't know anyone who would just force their cat to stay inside. Cats are they're predators. And that's the other thing I don't like about cats. You can't let them come and go. They can't go outside. And so I never really understood that till I moved to California, that some people kept their pets inside all the time and didn't let them go out. Because in rural areas, your cat is your mouse chaser. You need your cat out and about, scaring off the mice and the rats and the critters. It's what they do best. So there's that. They're fussy, right? This thing cats do where they own you. You don't own them. They own you, and they'll let you pet them. But then as soon as they're done, like, they decide what your relationship is. You have no control over a cat. Do you? I've never seen anyone who really, I don't know how you train a cat. I've never seen anyone really play, like, catch with a cat. I guess people do play with toys and make the cats go crazy, but like, you can't play frisbee with your cat. Nothing like that. So there's that. And then also, cats just aren't loyal. They are not loyal. This is a cliche, but it's true. If you die in your house and no one finds your body for days, your cat's going to start eating you. Like, the cat's not going to sit and die beside you. The cat's going to eat you to survive, and they're really not going to have any feelings about it. So those are the talking points for the cat. And I will tell you that I am not a cat person. Now that I've gone through this whole list, I'm pretty sure for sure I'm not a cat person. I like cats. I cannot classify myself as a cat person for all the reasons. However, kittens are adorable. And if they stayed kittens, I might keep cats forever. But they don't stay kittens, just like kids don't stay babies. They get all rusty and musty. Let's move on to dogs. What are the pros and cons of dogs? Dogs are loyal. So if you die and you're dead for 5 days in your house and the dog has no food or water, the dog will lay down beside you and die with you. Dogs are loyal. There's a really great movie. By the way, have you seen this movie, The Mountain Between Us? It is with Kate Winslet and Idris Elba. It's one of those movies that is deceptively good. You look at it and you don't think it's going to be anything very interesting, maybe just some kind of weird drama between these two British actors. Two British actors playing Americans, as far as I can tell. Was Idris supposed to be an American, or no? He was English. I just think it's funny. It's like, can't they both be British? That's fine too. But anyways, it's really, really good. I highly recommend it. It is it's tense, it's suspenseful. They play two strangers who are involved in a plane crash in the mountains and have to kind of work their way back to civilization. It's a bit of an adventure, but along the way they have a dog. They have a dog with them. And this dog is just so loyal the whole time. I have a dog. And I keep thinking, if I took her out to the woods and without a leash on her, she would not have been by my side as I was coming down that mountain. I don't think she's as loyal as this dog, but this conversation made me think of that movie. And not that it has anything to do with anything, but this is the relax episode. So I'm going to tell you to go and watch that movie. It's really good. I quite enjoyed it. I think it was a very underrated film. It didn't really get any press on it. I liked it. And come on, I watch anything Idris Elba is in. I don't care how cliche that sounds. I don't care if I sound like a horny old housewife. If Idris Elba is in it, I am there. I'm there. So dogs are loyal, right? And we know this, they save people. Dogs are lifesavers. When there's an avalanche and the snow falls down the mountain, do they go get the rescue cats? No, they get the St. Bernards. They get the German Shepherds. They get the rescue dogs. Those dogs go out there and they find people and they bring them medicine and water and they save lives. They're heroes. Some dogs are lifeguards. We send dogs into war. Have you ever seen video of an LAPD dog taking down a suspect? Oh, it's glorious. There's some video floating around right now. It just happened, I don't know, maybe 5 months ago or so. There was a suspect. He led them on a big car chase. Really, it was terrible. This guy put so many lives in danger. The whole time you're watching it, you're thinking, oh, just nail this sucker. Like, he is awful. And they finally pinned him into like a cul-de-sac where there was nowhere for him to go. So he got out the car and he started running into a building, and the canine unit pulled up. Oh, gives me chills just to think about it. Canine unit pulled up, opened the door, and that dog just took off. That dog was so fast. It felt like 3 or 4 strides. There had to have been 100 yards between them. It felt like 3 or 4 strides. That dog was on top of that guy and just ripping into him. Later, you find out that dog gripped that guy so hard, the dog broke 2 of its teeth. But it did get a medal. This is my point. You don't give cats medals, do you? No. Cats don't get medals. Cats don't take down criminals. Cats judge criminals, but they don't take down criminals. So, dogs rescue people. Dogs go into war. Dogs can be heroes. Dogs can be emotional support animals. Are cats emotional support animals? Do you get a lot of emotional support from your cat? I think there are some people who do. I think there are some people out there who say, yeah, my cat can sense my emotions and my cat responds to my emotions. I've never had that cat. I've always wanted that cat. I think my family's too crazy for that cat. Because you know how you are, that's the vibe that your pets are. Like our last cat that we had, Rosie, God rest her soul. She was an indoor, outdoor cat. I don't believe in keeping my cats trapped inside. Sorry. She would get insane if she was trapped inside for more than 3 days at a time. We'd have to let her out. But we live in coyote country. So you just have to accept the fact. If you're going to do that, she might not come home one day. And she didn't come home one day, sadly. But when we had Rosie, she was a maniac. Like, she'd be calm and independent most of the time. And then all of a sudden she'd start ripping up and down the stairs. And she was loud. And she was always fussing about something, meowing and fussing. She was crazy. We called her the crazy cat. And then one day, my whole family went out of town except me. For whatever reason, I was the only person that didn't go on this trip. So I was home for 5 days by myself. Oh God, that was like the most glorious vacation ever. I don't even remember what I did. I think I was drunk the whole time because I didn't have to do anything. But this is what I recall is that Rosie was like the calmest, nicest, cutest, most cuddly cat in the world. I realized that it was my crazy family that made her crazy. She was crazy because we're crazy. So yeah, if you have a pet that's an emotional basket case, it's most likely because you are an emotional basket case. So, anyways, to say this, you can put this one in the cat category, a positive for the cat. I do believe that they can sense your emotions, and there are cats who will support you emotionally. But you don't take them to the hospital to visit sick kids with cancer, right? You take the emotional support dog. The cat's not going to do what you want it to do at the hospital. You take the dog. The downside of having a dog is cleaning up after them, right? I have to admit that even to this day, 21 years in, I still feel ridiculous picking up my dog's poop. It's like, I wouldn't do this for anyone. I wouldn't do this for my kids. I wouldn't do this for anyone. And I feel like an idiot just kind of trailing this animal and so willingly picking up its poop. That can be a pain. We used to have a bull mastiff. And well, you can imagine, right? The bigger the dog, the bigger the job. Dogs can be dirty. Dogs can be hyper. You've got to teach them. You've got to train them. We've never been really good at that. So we always have really hyper dogs that jump and play and are just rather annoying. Again, this is a reflection on the owners and not the dogs. First time we had a trainer and the trainer was like, I'm here for you, not the dog. The dog only is responding to your vibe as a family. So, which I was like, excuse me, we're perfect. But anyways, no, if you look at our dog, you'll see we're not perfect. And you can give dogs responsibilities, right? So you can have an emotional support dog. They can be a guide dog. Some dogs can tell you if you are ill or if you have a seizure that's about to happen. We trained one dog to be an anxiety support dog. One of our fosters, she was a very anxious dog, and she was one of our longest fosters, Jewel, and she had been severely abused and was very distrustful of people. And over 2 months, we managed to socialize her because there's 4 of us, and then we got a bunch of people coming in and out of the house. She had to get used to people. And she eventually went to a woman who lived alone. She was partially disabled, and she struggled with massive anxiety, and she became an emotional support dog. And so I hear they're doing quite well. The rescue does share with me some of the places that they go. So dogs have a lot of purpose. Like, what's the purpose of a cat? You know what I'm saying? What's its purpose? What does it do? Some are nice, I've never had the nice cat. And now I'm starting to understand that a lot of it has to do with our family. So I don't know. I don't know if that's ever going to change. Maybe if my husband and kids leave me for good, then I'll get a cat. That'll be a wonderful cat. I have to say that I'm in the dog category because dogs are loyal and they're fun and they get you. There's a reason why we say dogs are a man's best friend. The downside of a dog is they need a lot of exercise. That's one nice thing about having a cat. You don't have to take them out on a walk twice a day, and then they don't poop in your shoe if you don't take them out. So dogs can be kind of annoying in that respect. And of course, we spend a lot of time in this house arguing over whose responsibility it is to take out the dog, to play with the dog, to work out the dog. You know, the dog needs to get out, and they get crazier if they don't have enough exercise. So that can foster resentment among a family. So there's that. But also, dogs are, I mean, let's face it, people. Dog is God spelled backwards. And they also happen to be man's best friend. I don't think that's an accident, folks. So in this debate, cats versus dogs, I feel that I have made my case for a dog, that dog is a superior animal. Cats are the more arrogant animal, but dog is a superior animal for human companionship. I just don't get cats. I'll acquiesce to them in this family from time to time, but I'm never a big fan of them, although those little kittens we had last week were just freaking adorable. But otherwise, no, I'm sticking in the dog category. I think when you bring an animal into your home, you want something that's going to be loyal. And I'm talking about an animal that's not like a mouse or a gerbil or something, but you want an animal that's going to be your ride or die. You know, you want an animal that's going to growl when the front door opens and it's not somebody who's supposed to be here. I don't feel safer in my house with a cat. What is the cat going to do? But I always feel safer in my house with a dog, no matter where I am. Even if it's like a silly little dog, a lot of people are scared of dogs. And so just the presence of a dog, the bark of a dog. I think dogs are the superior animal. I think they're the animals we were meant to commune with. I think communing with cats is a perversion, frankly, of the animal-human relationship. But that's just me. That's just me. Some of y'all may have a better case for why cats are superior to dogs. I'd love to hear your case, and I promise to try to judge it objectively, but I think I've been very convincing in my point here that dogs are the best. I mean, just look at how it's spelled. God backwards. Yeah, exactly. But if you think cats are better, please write me kiradavis422@gmail.com. kiradavis422@gmail.com. Let me know why I'm wrong about dogs and you're right about how amazing cats are. And I really look forward to those arguments, but also about anything else that you want to write, of course. And let me know if you have ideas for future shows, topics that you'd like to specifically hear me discuss. Happy to do so. I'm always open to new ideas. I can talk about anything. As you can tell, this is supposed to be a relaxed episode, and look, we're rolling up on an hour here. Kira never shuts up. I hope you needed someone to talk to today. Hope you needed someone to listen to today. I hope this isn't just annoying buzz to you. But if not, if this has been annoying and you've stuck it out this far, thank you. Come back for the next one. We'll have a more substantive debate. It's just that there's not a lot to debate between cats and dogs. I think the case is clear, but I could be wrong. Okay, you guys, I will talk to you next week. And listen, until we meet again, don't forget, every now and again, just take a moment and stop and listen to yourself. Bye.